This lady is amazing. Let me give her a full introduction. As you saw in the text I sent out, a mother of 3. She's an author. Let that sink in. Yes, she's an author, Miss Giles and Drilson, another one of you, an author. She's a real estate developer. She's a dear friend of mine. She's a lawyer. She's also a regional vice president platinum in her own right. Married to my dear friend Oren Solomon, who's a senior vice president, regional vice president platinum in her own right, ladies. She's also an entrepreneur, and what a woman. My God, I tell you, I am so happy that she took time out of her schedule to bless us, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, the great, the famous, the one and only Ms. Solomon.
Well, thank you, Al, Mr. Thomas. The check is in the mail. For all those wonderful things you said about me. Oh my goodness, I owe you. But I just thank you so much. I just appreciate your friendship, your leadership so much. I love the fact that you do these calls. I love the fact that you invite me to share on these calls. But it really just speaks to the care and concern you have for your team and wanting them to be successful. So just thank you so much for your friendship, your leadership, and your mentorship, Mr. Thomas. Thank you.
You're welcome, dear.
So hello, everybody. Good day, good morning, good evening, wherever you are around the world. I hear we have people from Japan, United States, all over the world on the call. And that's the beauty of ACN. So good day to everyone. So as Mr. Thomas said, my name is Angela Solomon. I am a regional vice president with ACN, and everything else I have done. I'm an author. I wrote a book called The Ultimate Guide for the Network Marketer's Bride. I'm a real estate broker. I'm a real estate developer. I do so many things, but honestly, I was able to do all of those things because of the blessing and that ACN is. So let me just tell you a little bit about my background before we get started. So I am from Detroit, Michigan. Born and raised there. I actually moved to the Washington, D.C. area when I was 13. But back in Detroit, I'm from the inner city of Detroit. So, neighborhood, pretty drugs, crime, bullet hole in the front window. Who doesn't have that, right? Pretty tough neighborhood there. But my mother was a firm believer in education. And she took all the money she had to make sure that I was attending private school. So I attended private school and I did everything my parents said, get good grades and, go to school, do well. I was able to get into the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and went to college there, and I studied business. And after that, I worked for a little bit for American Express up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But then I eventually went to law school. So I got out of law school. I practiced business and corporate law. And I realized that being a lawyer and in that career, it just was not giving me the time that I needed to be with my family. At that time, I had one small child, and he was getting sick a lot, and I had so much mommy guilt. Mommy's on the phone, on the call, can probably relate to just the guilt that you have between, if your child is sick, do you stay home with your child and comfort your child and help them to get better? Or do you just go to work and, leave your child with someone to comfort them? So it just got to be a lot. So because of ACN, I was able to just make the decision to quit that job. And I quit my job at the law firm back in 2001. So because of ACN, because of the residual income that we had built in ACN and the opportunity. So ACN is phenomenal. But I also want to tell you some stories today. So this call is going to be a mindset checkup. I want to tell you some things, some stories, some things that were impactful in my life, and in hopes of them being impactful in yours. So let me just get back to actually how I came to find out about ACN. So as I mentioned, and I forgot to tell you, so now I have 3 sons, right? I have an older son. He is 21 years old. He's a senior, a rising senior at Villanova University. And I have 2 18-year-old twins. They'll be 19 in less than a month. And they are also in college. They're at High Point University and Temple University. So we have 3 sons in college. And thanks to ACN, they could all pick the college they wanted to go to, but we'll talk more about that later as well. So just the blessing of ACN. Let me just give ACN a hand, right, Catherine? Right, Laureen, Belinda, ACN is a blessing, okay? Take it from me, it's awesome. But let me just tell you how I found out about ACN, Marie. So I was working in Minneapolis, and you all can definitely relate to this. Ishmael, I know you're going to relate to this. So I was working at my job, and I had met a guy, and he was actually from Detroit, but I was living in Minneapolis, and but I'm from Detroit too, but I met him in Minneapolis, long story short. And he called me about the ACN opportunity. And I was like, I'm graduated from college. I'm working my corporate job, thinking I'm living this dream life downtown. I have my own apartment, own car. I'm finally like, adulting. And I was happy with that because, what an accomplishment to, be living independently. So he called me and I was like, no, I'm not interested. And then he called me again. And I said, I'm not interested. And he called me again. I'm not interested. Kenny, he called me 8 times. 8 times. Antonio, are you calling people 8 times? He called me 8 times, Evelyn, before I decided to go to see the ACN opportunity. Now, the only reason I went to go see the ACN opportunity is because he kept bugging me. And he kept bugging me, and I wanted to go to prove to him that ACN was a scam. That it didn't make sense. It was just dumb. So I really just wanted to go. So he couldn't say that I was telling him no based on ignorance, right? I wanted to go to see it myself, to pick it apart, to tell him specifically why he needed to stop calling me about this opportunity, Mary. So you know what happened? I went to see the opportunity, and oh my goodness, I had never seen a concept like that before. I had never seen an opportunity to earn residual income, to make money, not off of my efforts, but from the cumulative efforts of other people, Corey. I had never seen anything like that. And it blew me away. So I was definitely interested. But the other thing that happened at that meeting is I met my husband. Oren Solomon was a team coordinator at the time, and he was building his way to RVP. There was no SVP position at that time. He was building to RVP. And a guy sitting next to me was like, and I was sitting in the second row, sitting next to a gentleman that I had met. He was an older gentleman. I met him at a networking event. So we were familiar, but he wasn't like a best friend or anything. And so at the end of the meeting, how everybody goes up, everybody takes their guests up to the speaker. And so everybody was taking their guests up to Oren. And like I said, I thought the concept was interesting. So he said, have you met this guy? And I said, no, I don't know him. I mean, he just flew in from DC. I don't know him. He was like, you need to meet him. You need to meet him. He's a great guy. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I had already applied to law school. I was moving to DC. I was like, I'm really not interested. He was like, take your business card and put it in his hand. You need to meet this guy. And so, I mean, he wouldn't let up. Like he was almost like the guy that was calling me 8 times to go to the meeting, right? So he wouldn't let up. So he made sure that I went, put my card in Oren's hand and met him. And long story short, I met Oren at that meeting. And had I not gone to that meeting, had I gone the second time the guy called me, had I took the invitation seriously the 4th time the guy called me, had I taken the 6th time had I gone to that meeting. So it was meant for me to resist for 7 times and only to go on that 8th time. So it was fate. So I met Oren. We've been together ever since. It's been great. So Oren, ACN, and I, we've been married for a long time, the 3 of us. And it has been a wonderful ride. But just going to that, I just want to isn't it funny how things happen? How, I just believe there are no accidents. And we're going to talk about that today in this mindset checkup call. So, we all have experienced the last year. 2020 has been a challenge like we had never seen. I mean, who would have expected anything like 2020? I remember in 2019, all of us were adopting the mantra of, we're planning, we have 2020 vision, right? Who was doing that? Belinda, were you doing that? 2020 vision. We all had 2020 vision, setting these goals. We just thought 2020 was going to be it. And it wasn't. It just wasn't the it that we expected it to be, Laureen, right? So 2020 actually blindsided us. I mean, we were not prepared. We had never lived like that. We had to adjust our lifestyles to extended quarantine. And I want to thank the first responders, any nurses on the Zoom, any doctors, any people work at the grocery store, any doctors' offices, any personnel that had to go out and make it better for all of us who were able to stay at home. Thank you so much for just your bravery and your courage during that time, because it was tough. So I just want to thank you. I thank you. I really thank you. So 2020. So it was just a crazy time, but it was a lot of negative, but there was a lot of positive, right, Pastor? There was some positives to come out of 2020. We had more time. So even if you were working, even if you were outside of the home working, a lot of us were able to work from home, but there are some of us who were still working outside of the home, but you didn't have a lot of places to go after work, right? A lot of the things that we were doing, we weren't visiting, we weren't partying, we weren't taking a lot of time doing a lot of things. We were doing what we had to do, and we were coming back home. So we all had more time than we ever had. It slowed the pace of life down. It slowed us down a lot, right, Celia? It slowed us down a lot. And it gave us more time with family. I don't know about you, but it gave me more time with food. I gained a couple quarantine pounds that I'm currently trying to take off. And it also gave us more time for ourselves. And hopefully it gave you more time to just think. It gave you more time to consume some personal development, to do some personal growth, to do some personal reflection. So in January, I love personal development. I love just, psychology of people, and just, just the psychology of people and how people think, and how just to stay motivated. And so I got an email about an event. It was a virtual event that was happening in January, and it was phenomenal. So I was so glad I was able to attend. It was called Dream Builder. And the whole premise of this Dream Builder was the Dream Builder event. It was like a 3-day event, but it was so powerful. I can only imagine how powerful it is in person to actually attend. But the whole premise is based on the question, what would you love? Marie, have you ever thought about that? What would you love? Martha, a lot of us have stopped thinking about what would we love. A lot of us have stopped dreaming. A lot of us are just settling. Because, when you're a child, your dream, everything seems so open and available as a child. Everything seems possible when you're a child. But as we grow and we make decisions and we age, and our dream circles start to shrink a little bit. So what we thought was possible when we were 10 is a lot different than what we think is possible at 35 or 45 or 55. But it doesn't have to be. Why is that? Why does that happen? Why do we contract our dreams? Why do we stop dreaming? Why are we okay with settling? So that's why this event was so powerful, because it really posed the question, what would you love? And so when you stop to think about that, what would you love? Like if take yourself back to your 10-year-old self, and when everything is possible, what would you love? Would you love, a super exotic sports car? I have to start with sports cars because I'm from Detroit. It's the Motor City, and I love cars. So a car is always on my dream board, my vision board. Would you love a beach home? Would you love to wake up whenever you were finished sleeping? Would you love a mansion in Bel Air or some fancy neighborhood? Would you love to take a trip around the world? What would you love? Everybody, nobody here is the same. all of us are going to have different dreams. But what I want you to do is to realize, I want you to start dreaming again. There were people at the event that I attended where we're doing this dream building. These people, there were people that were 80 years old and older. So what I really want us to do is just to start thinking, start being okay, give yourself permission to dream again and stop settling. Don't settle. Stop settling and start dreaming again. Just think about, what would you love? And so in this event, and there were over 1,000 people on this Zoom. I mean, they had multiple Zooms, but the great thing about it is they would break us out into breakout rooms. So then maybe it would be, maybe 10 people in a breakout room. So imagine how many breakout rooms, when you have like 1,000 people on the call, it was just a powerful thing. And so we would share our dreams. We would share our dreams with people. We had to dream in all different areas. Like, what would you love relationship wise? What would you love vocation wise? What would you love, health wise? What would you love? I mean, it was all different areas. What would you love? What would be your ideal life to just get us in dream mode again? And so we broke out into these breakout rooms, and and it was with the same people, and we all took turns to go around and share our dreams. And when you took turns to share your dream, you would get feedback from the other people in the group. And so one of the things some of the feedback I got, one person told me, and it was just intuitive, right? This person said, I just hearing your dream, I am feeling that you need to get a plant. And I'm like, a plant? That's weird. I mean, of all the things, like a plant? So Kenny, isn't that weird for somebody to tell you, like, you need a plant? And it's weird because I don't have a plant. Like, I don't have a green thumb at all. Okay. Like, it's very weird, Sam, because anytime I do have a plant, like, it just never makes it for a long time. So I was just like, all right. And so I went on Amazon and I tried to get a plant. Like, so I thought about, they have these bamboo plants that are supposed to represent like good fortune and abundance. So that's what I tried to do. So Jamar, I went on Amazon and I tried to get this bamboo plant. And I read the reviews because I wanted to get a good, you got to read the reviews on Amazon because you want to make sure you get a good one, right? And so all the reviews said that by the time the bamboo plant reached the destination, that they weren't so good. So I kind of just abandoned the idea of the plant, even though, in the dream mode and in the workshop, that was, what I was supposed to do. Somebody told me that's what because I couldn't get my bamboo plant, I just said, okay, and I forgot about it. So I'm a part of a couple different women's organizations. I'm a Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, if I have any sorors on the Zoom. Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, I'm a life member there. Links Incorporated, I do all of those things. So in Links Incorporated, I was the leader I led a community service project where we collected over 2,000 pounds of food for senior citizens in our area. And so we had this whole ceremony where we had to go deliver the food to a senior center, and we had to do a presentation, and it was great. And so the president of the organization, they gave plants to all the presidents of the organizations. And so we were taking our picture, and after the event, the president actually gave me her plant. She said, Angela, here, I don't need this plant. You work so hard, you organized this. I want you to have this plant. And I was like, oh my goodness, Julian, I had my plant just right there. So it kind of like blew my mind because I knew that I needed the person to advise me to get a plant. But like I said, I kind of abandoned my search for the plant because I thought I was supposed to have a bamboo plant. So anyway, I get this plant, and I don't know what the plant is called. I meant to look it up before this Zoom call, but I forgot to. But this is the kind of plant. It's a very common plant where, and maybe this happens with all plants. Like I said, I don't have a green thumb, but so like this plant, when I went out of town, like I didn't water it for 3 days, and it kind of got sad. But then as soon as I came back, I watered it again and it came back up. You know what plant I'm talking about? Antonio, have you seen this? Jamar, you know, it's, I don't know the name of the plant, but beautiful plant. It's beautiful. But anyway, so I got this plant and I was so excited. I was like, oh my goodness. Because one of the things that they told us at this workshop, after you set your intention and you decide, because there is power in deciding what you want. Like, I just feel like when you're wishy-washy about your goals and your dreams, like, it's hard to manifest. But when you declare them, people tell you to write them down, but I'm telling you, this workshop was goal setting on steroids, because not only were we writing them down, we were declaring them. We were sharing them with other people. We were getting everybody in on the dream building process, which was amazing. And I highly suggest having, like, I'm in a mastermind group from that. So I meet every week, every Thursday with my mastermind group. It's only 3 of us that attended the workshop. And every week we're constantly declaring our goals and sharing our dreams and just supporting each other. And amazing things are happening. I mean, look, this plant is one of the things. I'm going to tell you another thing that happened too. And the plant is so good too, because the plant to me represents growth. And so when I got the plant, I started watering it. And it also represents consistency, because in ACN, in your life, if you want anything, you have to be consistent. You have to do it every day. So because I'm consistently caring for this plant, I'm consistently watering this plant. Every time I interact with this plant, I'm reminded of my dreams. I think about my dreams. I'm intentional about what I'm creating. I'm intentional about what I want. I'm intentional about creating a life that I love with all the things that I love. And this plant is so symbolic of that. And I love the plant for that reason. So the plant has blossomed, it has grown. And every time I see it with a new bloom, it makes me happy. It makes me smile. It brings me joy, Jamar, because it's just like a visual representation of the growth that I experienced from that Dream Builder workshop. So, well, like I said, one of the things that came out of that workshop too was to notice what you're noticing. So like, if I hadn't been aware of this plant, I wouldn't have gotten confirmation that, wow, they told me I needed to get a plant. I had it on my mind to get a plant. And then here's this plant showed up. Another thing that happened, now that I'm noticing what I'm noticing, because we get signs all the time. We get guidance and signs and confirmation all the time. Sometimes we're just not aware. So you have to start noticing what you're noticing, because there are no accidents. So another thing that I started, as I mentioned, I have 3 sons in college. So I had to find a new hobby. My sons took a lot of time. You know, I quit my job, thankfully, for ACN, but I quit my job to help Oren build the ACN business, but to also spend more time with my sons. And now that they're all grown people living their lives, I have a little bit more time. So I said, I need a new hobby. What can I do? So Oren is an avid golfer, and golf takes a lot of time. I was like, you know what? I need to play golf. I need to be a golfer. And so I started playing golf. My friends and I, we started playing golf every Thursday. Well, we weren't good at it. You know, golf, you got to play, you got to practice to be good at golf. So we were out there, people were passing us by, like, you know, just treating us bad on the golf course because we didn't know what we were doing, losing our balls, shooting them everywhere. And so anything I do, I like to be really good at it. So one of the things that I share with the people in dream building is that I wanted to travel with my husband and win golf tournaments. So I wanted to play golf and I wanted to win golf tournaments individually and like couples golf tournaments. I think that would be fun. Now that, you know, Warren and I, we're enjoying our lives without, you know, the day-to-day management of children because they're all grown. So golf is a great thing to travel around. I said, you know, one of the things I wanted to travel around and because I love empowering people. I love speaking. This is why, I always enjoy when Mr. Thomas asked me to talk. But so I put that on my dream builder list. So one day it was still cold outside. It had to be like in March, but so it wasn't so warm. We live in Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C. So Orrin is like, Angela, do you want to go play golf? And I'm like, no, it's cold outside. I don't, if it's 57 is my temperature. Like if it's 57 or below, no, 57 or above, then I'll go play. If it's 56 or below, no golf for me. So this day it was a little cold, but Orrin loves it so much. He plays all the time, no weather. Like it doesn't matter what the weather is, but I do have my 57. But anyway, so he said, Angela, do you want to go play golf? And I'm like, I really don't. And he said, all right, well, why don't you just come and ride with me? And you can just sit in the car because I'm not gonna play, I'm just gonna practice. And you can just sit in the car and watch. So I said to myself, like, why would I do that? But I'm like, okay, he wants to spend quality time. Ladies, we like quality time. Maybe is that your love language, Catherine? Like, maybe, quality time. So I said, okay. I said, but you know what? I told Orrin before we left, I said, listen, I'm gonna get a golf coach because I'm gonna get good at golf. I'm gonna get a golf coach. It's gonna coach me to be really good so that we can go and play tournaments and win. And he was just like, okay, well, put your coat on, let's go. So I put my coat on and we go to the golf course and he gets out to go play. Now there is a couple parking spaces next to me because I'm sitting in the car with the heat. And there's a guy who is coaching this other guy on the golf swing. So I roll my window down to kind of eavesdrop on the tips because I'm like, wow, this is interesting. He's right here in the parking lot next to me, like coaching this guy. And so I roll my window down and I'm like, eavesdropping on what he's saying. And so the guy sees me and he says, hey, you want to come and join? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I just want to listen because it's cold outside and I'm not coming out. And he's just like, all right. But as I listened, I heard what he was saying. So when we were getting ready to leave, I said, hey, are you a golf coach? And he was like, yeah, I do. I coach people on golf. I said, well, awesome. I said, can I have your number? Because I just said 30 minutes ago that I was going to have a golf coach who was going to coach me to win tournaments. And he said, sure. And that was back in March. So you already know I have a golf coach now. You already know that I'm playing in my first tournament 2 weeks from now. You already know that I play golf every week and my girlfriends aren't as good as me now because I have a golf coach. But I say all that to say, look what happened. I declared that right before I went. Akiko, is that amazing or what? Is that powerful? I hope you all understand what I'm saying to you. I'm demonstrating that we all need to start dreaming again and really believing. I don't care how old you are. It's a mindset. It is a mindset. You could have everything you want. You can have the life you love. You just have to figure out what it is that you love. What would you love? What would you love to have? Don't abbreviate it. Don't downsize it. Don't cheat yourself from having a life that you love because it is there for you. It is there for you. You just have to declare it, write it down, and maybe find some people who have a growth mindset like you. So like, I don't believe in telling just anybody your dreams because there are a lot of vampires out here. There are a lot of dream stealers out here. So I don't recommend, telling everybody. Sometimes the dream stealer is in your home. So I don't recommend that. What I do recommend though is getting together. There's power in numbers. Everybody on this call, I would believe, is a dream builder, is a dreamer, is a believer. Think differently. maybe find a person or two to build your dreams with, to share your dreams with, to support you, to remind you, to meet with. Like I said, I meet with my mastermind group every week. And we only meet for 40 minutes, maybe, just to share our dreams, update, support each other, yay, clap, encourage, and then we're off. But it's just great to declare. I'm regularly setting my intention. I'm regularly setting my goals. And then I'm noticing what I'm noticing. And stuff is happening. Like just how I'm thinking it. And it's the power of positive thinking too, right? I know, when people talk about positive thinking, people are always talking, oh, think positively, think positively. And so it sometimes becomes cliche. You just, you hear it and you're like, yeah, because it's just like, a mantra. People say it, but it's so true. Our thoughts are prayers. And it was so funny because I mean, it's a habit. It's a habit that you have to get into. Again, living intentionally. I was on my mastermind call with my group yesterday, and I was telling them how I went and got my eyelashes done. Check them out. So I got my eyelashes done, Mary, and I had on like I'm still masking. I had on like N95, another mask, and oh my God, to lay there in a room with no ventilation with a mask on, two masks on for an hour for beauty. I was just like, I was telling my group, Martha, I was like, beauty is painful. But you got to do it. Beauty is painful. And so, because I couldn't wait. I couldn't breathe for hours. So, but my mastermind partner said, Angela, why are you saying that? Beauty is not painful. You don't want to declare that. You don't want that to be your experience. Beauty is easy. Beauty is painless. And I was like, you are right. I don't want that because I love taking care of myself. I love self-care. I love to do those things to value myself and to treat myself. So I don't want beauty to be a painful experience. So why did I say that? So it's just like little things like that we just have to catch ourselves saying, right? It's more than just think positively. Oh, that it really is being intentional about creating the life that you love. It really is being intentional about watching your thoughts. We're all going to have, negative thoughts come in, but as soon as you get one, boop, turn it around, turn it around, turn it around, Darlene, turn it around, Willie. Don't let it in, turn it around. Immediately, beauty is easy. Beauty feels good. It's comforting. It's fun, like all of that. Because your thoughts are prayers. You're constantly creating. Either you're creating things that are going to serve you, or you're creating the opposite. And we don't want the opposite. We always want to create things that we love, what's going to serve us, what will make us happy, because we all want a joyful life. We all want a great life and a great business. So how long have I been talking a bunch of time? But I do have one more story. Okay. I have one more story. So one of the things that in ACN, like I said, is a blessing, and it's been a blessing in my life. It's been a blessing in Mr. Thomas's life, but a blessing in so many people's lives. And for those of you who have been in ACN a long time, you actually see real people. Like, I love ACN because you can actually touch, see, talk to real people. Like you might see them in Success Magazine, but when we were able to be in person and, be at the conventions and the regionals and at weekly meetings, you actually could see these real people who've done these things, who've had success. So, it's not, so esoteric. It's like a real thing that you can do, right? So I love that about ACN because it is real. And I think that one of the things that is a quote. Let me share a quote. Oh, before I go there, I want to share the quote just to kind of finish out that portion that I just said about just positive thinking and our thoughts, our prayers. One of the quotes that I learned from that Dream Builder workshop is that everything is to create it twice. Once in the mind and then in reality. So that was powerful, just to think about everything. It's kind of like, we used to hear, everything you, if you conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. So I guess that's like a twist on that. But that was just a powerful thing. Like everything is created twice, once in the mind and then in reality. So now this next quote that I want to share with you is going to be relevant to your ACN business. It is, you want to be known for the one thing, not the something. You want to be known for the one thing and not the something. So think about, when people think about you, what do they think? What are you known for? What's your known for? Right? So some of us are known for, you know, being moms or being whoever our profession is, or whatever our profession is, or sisters or wives, or what everybody has a known for. When people think of you, when people are like, oh, you know what? Oh, Catherine does that, or Akiko does that, or Celia does that, or Ishmael does that. Like, what is your known for? And so I'm telling you this story is, a lot of times in ACN, we are secret agents in the business. Like nobody knows. We go to the ACN BOM, we get excited about it, but then nobody knows that we are in ACN. Nobody knows to think of us for cell phones, or merchant processing, or credit card services, or energy. Nobody knows. And in ACN, we kind of need people. We kind of need people to know that that's what we do. So I want to tell a story really quick about Oren when he was in college. Was when he was actually in the master's program when he found out about the ACN opportunity, and he was telling everybody. He was telling everybody about it. Oh, and that back then it was just a long distance product that we were with marketing for LCI. And so he was getting everybody on LCI. And imagine at that point, it was just, people didn't have multiple landline phones in their homes, right? Now, look how many customers we can get in one home. Back then, it was one house phone. So, it was way harder, right? Way, way, way harder, because it was one house, one customer per house. So anyway, Oren, of course, was going forward and telling everybody. And at that time, it was new. ACN was relatively new. Oren joined ACN in '93, right? Pretty much when the company started. So it was a very new concept. It was a very new company, and Oren was very new to it himself as a college student, master's student, and people were teasing him. He said one day, because he was known, his known for was they were calling him the telephone man, because he was trying to, get everybody's telephone, asking them, can we talk to your parents? Can you this? So he said one time he left his dorm, and back in those days, we would put on the dorm, you would put like a message board on the door where people can leave you messages if you weren't there. So he said he came back one time and they called him Mr. Telephone Man, and nobody, he didn't know who they didn't, it wasn't like they were being nice, like they were teasing. And even like in years later, people like, oh, you talking about Oren Solomon? The phone, he's doing that phone thing. But even though they were teasing him, that ACN is his known for. ACN is, everybody who knows Oren Solomon knows that he is about that phone thing. ACN. And it's so interesting. Yes, Mr. Thomas. Yes, ACN, yes. And so the other day we were playing golf. We were practicing golf. We were at the practice range. And this one guy who was also working with our golf coach, he asked Oren if, we could book a tee time for him at the country club. So Oren was like, yeah. Okay, let's exchange numbers. I'll do it for you. No problem. And so later on, the guy, so they talk on the phone after, and the guy says, you know what? Your name sounds so familiar. Now, this was just the other day. Your name sounds so familiar. What do I know you from? Now, most people either know Oren from college, his neighborhood in DC, or ACN. Like those are three buckets, because he's pretty much done ACN his whole life, right? So, and the guy was like, oh my goodness. He said, Oren Solomon, you were ACN, right? ACN. And Oren was like, yeah, I do ACN. He said, oh man, I was an ACN back in the day, back 20 years ago. And he said, you know what? After I left ACN, I bounced around and did like 5 different companies. And I tell you today, that is my biggest regret. I should have stayed in ACN. And Oren was like, wow. And so I'm telling you that story for 2 reasons. One thing is to just encourage you to not be a secret agent. Let people know that you are in ACN. Don't be an ACN secret agent. You let ACN be your known for. If you're serious about this business, you want to be people's top of mind when they think about any of the services that ACN offers. Like, let me call Belinda about that. Let me call the pastor about that. I think Latasha is doing that. I think, you need a cell phone. Let me call Evelyn. Corey, he's doing utilities. Let me call Corey. You need credit card processing? Sam is the guy. Call Sam about credit card processing. Don't be a secret agent. Share ACN with everybody. Let everybody know that that's what you do so that you can be the first person that they think about when they think about any of those services. And the second thing is to have longevity. When people, even if you go to people like people that Oren went to back when he first started, now that they see 25, almost 30 years later, ACN's still around, Oren's still around, he's still doing it. They're like, you know what? You may have been the phone man back then, but now can I be? This thing is real. It works. It has longevity. So it's important to let people know what you do and then hang around long enough to gain the credibility that people trust that this thing is going to work. Because it's been working. If it's been working for you for 25 years, 30 years, this thing must be serious. It's a real thing. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And I just want to leave, my main points that I want to share with you today. Right, looking at my notes. Okay, so the first point that I want to leave you with today is going back from the first part of the call, is when I talked about you being in complete control of your life and being able to create a life and a business and anything that you desire is in your power. You just have to decide. You just have to believe. You just have to notice what you're noticing and take action. You can definitely have a life and business that you love. The second point I want to leave with you today is become the person that people think of when they need a cell phone or they need utilities or credit card processing or even a business opportunity. There are a lot of people now that are looking to work from home. A lot of people now, they want to go back to the office. A lot of people don't want to go back to the office. A lot of people are looking for alternatives to being able to go back to the office. How about you be the person they think about when they say, you know what? I know Marie works from home. I know Catherine is working from home. Let me call her and see if there's an opportunity for me. Right, Pat? Right, Pat? Right. So the third thing I want to leave you with is that if you don't know already, ACN is the real deal. ACN is a blessing. When I tell you, like I said, I have 3 children in college. And because of the ACN residual income, they are all in college. ACN pays for them to go to college. And I mean, I'm so grateful and thankful that somebody invited me, that young man called me 8 times to attend that meeting. He didn't give up on me. He kept calling. He was persistent. He was intentional about getting me to see the ACN opportunity. And I'm so grateful and thankful that the guy next to me was intentional about making me meet then field team coordinator Oren Solomon. And I'm telling you, be intentional, be committed, be persistent, and be awesome. So that's my message for you today. And I'm just going to turn the call back over to Mr. Thomas. Thank you so much for having me and listening to all my stories.